And that's the 14th goldfish. And this is the start of a summary. One thing that I want to say before we say the whole thing is that I should have read this book before I read The Third Mushroom. Because it turns out The Third Mushroom is a sequel to The 14th Goldfish, as I said in my Third Mushroom book report, book review, and summary. Well, there we go. In this book, lots of weird things have happened ever since there has been, an experiment that has gone terribly right. It's that a grandpa, let's say your grandpa, turns to your age, and now you have nothing to do about it except get this cranky old little man. Well, he seems little compared to grandpa, but this cranky little man to come into here as a teenager with the brain of a 76-year-old man scientist from the pretty sure it would be the 50s. And, well, that's basically what seemed to happen. Another thing that I have to say right now is that the 14th Goldfish is that it talks about believe in the possible. However, believing in the possible is sometimes just let's just say, one of the best things about science. The story starts with Ellie, the main character, talking about her life with a goldfish and how she was clearly bonded with that goldfish. She misses 5th grade, she misses her dearly departed goldfish, she misses her old best friend, she misses literally everyone she used to be with, but then kind of stopped because of bond breaking. And suddenly there's this strange boy that comes up here, and he looks pretty familiar. The white hair, well, it was brownish, but with the gray tips at the edge, and then the facial expressions, the eyes, the way he talks, at least the words that come out of his mouth, yikes. And weirdly enough, that was confirmed by the ring on his, and that is the confirmation ring, and that confirmed that he was the scientist grandpa that Ellie knew all along. At least, she didn't realize that until then. And then she said, Grandma! And yeah, it's me, blah, 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 blah. And says, you want proof? Takes out the wallet and takes out his driving license. Okay. And so could this gawky teenager be Grandpa Melvin? I mean, sure, Grandpa Melvin said, I need to borrow your car. And then she said, no, do you think that you can drive? You're not even old enough yet. Really? I have a driver's license, young lady. I mean, it sounds like a teenager fighting with his mom, but then again, the reversal effects make everything sound pretty funny, too. And they say, well, obviously, it's deported, and don't not let you. Like, that all happened. And then, well, that happened. And Ellie asked Grandpa, why can't you just let her drive you there? Right where you want. Is that I want to go back to my lab, the place that I literally just built, and then, well, turns out that I was laid off with a warning for trespassing on my own lab. And that happened. And then later on, it just turns out that nothing ever seems to be right in this family, too. Because turns out Grandpa can't get into his own lab, and the company's been bought by a Malaysian guy, and they're moving to Malaysia, and then they say and he's worrying that if they see the jellyfish, they're gonna be like, jellyfish? Haha, it's a fool, this guy was always a fool anyway, and throw the jellyfish away into the trash. Or probably find out what he's been doing, and then, take out the credit for it. Also, it turns out that he probably found a secret to eternal youth. In the next book, as we know, we find out that he's found the antidote to the secret to eternal youth. And it's all kind of a weird thing to do. If you're going to go to school, you have to go back to school, because if he stayed home, there would be suspicious, and, she'd lose her job, and then they both wouldn't be able to live. So that is just one of the penalties of being a 13-year-old again. You have to go back to school for a very, very long time. And so he sort of go, and then that happened, and finally when Grandpa went on his little road trip around the country, it was finally a time that he found his place again. I mean, he still remembered Grandma, of course. He never stopped loving her. But then he also taught his granddaughter a passion, and to give her a love of science, and at least they'll meet again a few years later, which are more like the next book. Well, at least he's still bossy, he's cranky, and weirdly enough looks a lot like Ellie's grandpa. He's still the same old little grandpa with his little USB chip. Yeah, okay, maybe not the USB chip, but you get the point. He has his own ideas. I mean, he even told a guy who said, eternal youth is all up deep fakesing. And then says the grandpa's name, scientist, and says he's just the guy who wants all the credit because he thinks he discovered all and he's a hoarder, like all those other people who should be respected but weren't. And then Grandpa Melvin decided to do this in the obnoxious way. Print out all his articles and tell the kid, read them and weep. And the kid outsliced him by saying, they're over 30 years old. Some of them, at least. Most of them. It turns out that he forgot to check his dates, and turns out lots of them are technically outdated. And that's all I'm going to have to say right now, because by the end, Grandpa goes on a bus trip around the whole country. Also, we finally find out that he's sick of it after a year of it. And I guess I hope to see you guys in the next episode too. So until next episode, Shannon out. Peace.